Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to pick up with Chapter 4, Lesson 1, Day 2 of Representing Relationships. Our objective is still to translate tables and graphs into linear equations. Let's take a look at our first example. The total distance Marion ran in 1 week is shown in the graph. So we've got our graph here with time on the x-axis and total distance ran on the y-axis, and we've got a series of points that have a set of coordinates that name each point. Number 3 is asking us to write an equation to find the number of miles ran y after any number of days x. So miles ran is y, number of days is x. So our first step, we have to find the rate of change or the slope of the line. And remember, we can do that from any 2 points here. So we're going to use our slope equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And again, we pick any 2 sets of coordinates. So the 2 that we've selected are 14,4 and 7,2. And you can see if we labeled these, we'd have, we could label these coordinates. 4 is x2, 14 is y2, 2 is x1, 7 is y1. So we would take 14 and subtract 7, y2 minus y1, and that's shown right here in the numerator of the equation, 14 minus 7, and then 4 minus 2, and 4 minus 2 in the denominator of the equation. When we subtract, we get 7 over 2, and we divide, we get 3.5. So the slope is 3.5. Now to find the y-intercept, we're going to use the slope and the coordinates of a point to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So we've got our equation y equals mx plus b. We're going to plug in 3.5, which is our slope for m. So now we have y equals 3.5x plus b. And now we can take any 2 coordinates. So we're going to use 2 and 7 and plug in 2 for x and 7 for y, and then we solve for b. So we would simply get 7 equals, show you over here. So we get 7 equals 3.5 times 2 plus b. When I multiply 3.5 times 2, I get 7. And when I solve for b, I subtract 7 from this side, subtract 7 from this side. 7 minus 7 is 0. I get 0 equals b, or b equals 0. So that tells me that my y-intercept is 0. So the slope is 3.5, and the y-intercept is 0. So the equation of the line is y equals 3.5x plus 0, or just y equals 3.5x. So now let's take a look at problem 4. How many miles will Marlon run after 2 weeks? First we write the equation, y equals 3.5x. There are 14 days in 2 weeks, so we replace x with 14. X stands for days. And then we multiply. Y equals 3.5 times 14. 3.5 times 14 is 49. And we come to the conclusion that Marlon will run 49 miles in 2 weeks. So now I'd like you to try this problem on your own. So pause the video, work through the problem, then come back and check your answer. So our first step is to find the slope. And remember, you can use any 2 sets of coordinates to find the slope. And I'm going to choose 2 that are close together, 2 and 34 and 1 and 17. So 2 and 34 and 1 and 17. And I'm going to label these. So x2, y2, and x1, y1. And now I can work through my slope equation. So m equals slope. So m equals y2, which is 34, minus y1, which is 17, over x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is 1. When I subtract, I get 17 over 1. So my slope is 17. Next, I have to find my y-intercept, so I can use the slope and any 2 coordinates to figure out my y-intercept. So I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. I'm going to plug in my slope and a set of coordinates, and I'm just going to use this one, 1 and 17. So I'm going to put in 17 for y equals 17, which is the slope, times 1, which is x, plus b. I get 17 equals 17 plus b. Subtract 17 from both sides to get b alone. And once again, I end up with 0 is equal to b, or b is equal to 0. So my equation would be y is equal to 17x. I could say plus 0, but it's really not necessary. I just say y is equal to 17x. Now I can use my equation to solve d. Use the equation to find how many trees could be saved if 500 tons of paper are recycled. So I just plug in 500 for x in my equation. Y is equal to 17 times 500. And when I multiply 17 times 500, I get 8,500. So y is equal to 8,500 trees. All right, to wrap things up, I'd like you to try problem 2 on the guided practice. Same scenario. Pause the video, give it a shot, then come back and check your answer. So problem 2 says the graph shows the amount of money the Rockwell family budgets for food each month. Write an equation to find the total amount of money C budgeted in any number of months M. Use the equation to determine how much money the Rockwell family should budget for 12 months. So we're going to go through the same scenario we did with our previous problem. First we have to find the slope. So again, you can choose any two sets of coordinates. You can choose two that are right next to one another, or you can choose two that are separated. I'm going to try 3 and 1,875 and 1 and 625. So I'll write those down. I'm going to label them x2, y2, and x1, y1. Next, I'm going to work through my slope equation. So I've got m is equal to y2, which is 1,875, minus y1, which is 625, over x2, which is 3, minus x1, which is 1. When I subtract 1,875 by 625, I get 1,250, and 3 minus 1 is 2. And when I divide 1,250 by 2, I get 625. So my slope is 625. Next, I'm going to find my y-intercept by using my slope equation. So I've got y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to use 3 as my x value and 1,875 as my y value. So I'll plug those numbers in. So I've got 1,875 for y equals 625, which is my slope, times 3, which is my x value, plus b. When I work this through, I get 1,875 equals 625 times 3 is also 1,875, plus b. Subtract 1,875 from both sides, and I get 0 is equal to b. So since my y-intercept is 0, my equation is simply y equals 625x. So as I said, my equation is y equals 625x. I'm going to plug in 12 months for x. And when I work that through, I get y is equal to $7,500. Your assignment for today is page 273, number 2.